Councilor Imtiaz Sayed, who is the founder of eThekwini Secure, and he's also a civic activist involved with various ratepayer associations, also with the CPFs. Imtiaz has been a couple of times with us in the studio, but we'll get Imtiaz to give some comment on the eThekwini municipal budget. Will this improve service delivery? Imtiaz, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to News in Focus live on Radio Al Azhar International.
Thank you for having me, and assalamu alaikum to all the listeners.
Shukran. Imtiaz, I want to bring you in. Last week we were chatting about terror at the write-off, and we had councillors and some representatives from civil society present, and it was mentioned that the 50% write-off as of 31st January 2025 areas would be a sort of a kind of a relief if people pay or agree to pay the balance immediately over a period of time. And, more than R1 billion or so would be wiped off if people start taking advantage of the write-off. Now, the write-off was as a result of poor debt collection. So the municipalities want to retrieve a lot of their funds. Now, the budget is going to be discussed tomorrow, and we'll chat on that a little bit later. But just to pick up on what Ish has been stating, that people are in dire straits, they are in areas. There's a relief that's been put to the people. And again, now the tariff increases and people are going to go back into areas. So tomorrow the budget is going to be approved with these increases. What is the reaction of council on this issue?
With all due respect to this, we can look at pages of paper and we'll never ever speak to the reality of exactly what's happening. And we must be honest with ourselves. So this whole debt relief program of 50% is there for two reasons. One is that water losses historically have not been dealt with according to the SLA of water. The SLA of water speaks to that when your water bill increases, within a period of a month, the municipality is supposed to be sending you a red notice to say, have a look, there's something wrong with your water, your consumption is too high. You're then supposed to have a look and fix it if you need to, and then you've got water loss insurance, which only covers you for a period of 3 months, right? On the second month, they're supposed to send out an internal inspector to come inspect why is this happening. And if they found a leak on a vacant property or something, shut off your water and inform you that that's happening. Now, if we can't even read the meters timeously, where would we get an inspector to come out? So what happens is that when you've got a water leak, that leak is there for probably about 10 months. You don't even know that it's happening. And all of a sudden, for that period of 10 months, you've got a bill which normally is 900 Rand, sitting on 10,000 Rand a month, which accumulates to 100,000 Rand. And when you go and claim for water loss, rightfully so, the insurance only pays you for 3 months. Now, the balance of it, the municipality is saying, now come to us and we'll write that off. So understand that part. So the first thing anyone that had a water loss issue and couldn't resolve it in terms of the insurance is to go to the municipality water department and say, I've had water loss in 2021, 2022, whichever year, have that reversed first. Then go take advantage of the 50% write-off. Now, the problem we have with it is that the budget comes in on the 1st of July. And this is something we've discussed in council to say that there's too short a time frame to address all of these issues if someone has a municipal bill. Because the reason you have a municipal bill could be because of water loss. And now you want us to go to 50%. How do we go there? So there's issues around it. I don't think everyone is going to be able to succeed at getting it done. But ultimately, the process to get it done is a bit flawed. It's not direct. It's not saying go here and you can have this fixed. Water department is not standing off to fix your issue immediately. So it's going to take some time to get that resolved. The issue around ESCOM having a price increase of 11% and we coming in at 1.2%, rightfully so, correct. Water department is saying that Mgeni Water is charging us 13% and now they've reduced it to say, okay, it's now going to be 13%. Correct, it's there. 11% on sanitation. We don't pay anything to anyone for sanitation, but we've got 11% increase. We've got a 9% for refuse. Now, what we must remember in all of this, Yunus, is how do we get to spend 64.2 billion of the 73 billion Rand in operating expenditure, which 75% of that 64 billion comes from the person with the consolidated bill. You pay for those services and the city derives that money from you. So majority of this budget is not coming from National Treasury. from government, from anyone. It's coming from you and I. Now, if we're sitting with an employment, with human resources in our city of 24,000 people, and we're allocating budgets for increases, we're allocating budgets for increases in salary and bonus payments and all of these things, where was the consideration in that to say, we are not providing the basic service to our community? Why are we now having these increases come in? Cut the salaries of even the councillors. But if you look in the budget, there is now provision there for councillor increases, increases to staff, all of those different things. So we have a problem outside of looking at the figures on the budget. We got to fix governance. Governance is our main issue. I'll give you an example. We were sitting in trading services the other day, and they put in committee to say that we need to buy 150 vehicles, LDVs, for the water and sanitation unit at a cost of between 400 and 600,000 rand a vehicle. But on the top, in fine print, and this is what we don't do, we don't read the fine print. eThekwini Water has been hiring 150 vehicles at 8 million rand a month. 8 million rand a month. That's 53,000 rand rental per van per month. That's what we've been paying. The question we raise is, who informed that? Who was the recipient of that? And the answer to it, no, it's a national instruction. It comes from national. No. National is not subsidizing your 75%. It's coming out of operational expenditure. So we need to really look at the fine print within municipality and how we're running this municipality. And the major issue is, there might be political will to do it, but there's no political wisdom to do it. And that's the problem.
I think some very interesting observations which we'll pick up. We take a break, and inshallah after the break we'll pick up those observations. You want to comment, Imtiaz, briefly on that aspect?
I think we must be realistic about things again. You know, sometimes we speak on budgets, we speak on paper, and we speak about what it's telling you at face value. That's not the reality. The reality is a very, very simple thing, right? When you're reading the budget, read it for how is it going to impact you and how is it going to affect you. Now, if anyone, including ratepayer associations, have done their homework, they'd realize that households that pay rates in the city, now, if you don't pay rates, you obviously don't pay water and electricity, right? So I'm talking about it holistically and inclusively. There are only 472,000 households.
Right.
And we have 980,000 households that get services from the city. That means 500,000 households don't pay for anything. It's free. Okay? Now, the reason I told you the budget on operational expenditure is 64.2 billion is so that people can understand what I'm saying. 75% of that 64.2 billion comes from that 472,000 households only. But it provides a service to the 980,000 households. So when you're talking about operational expenditure of electricity unit and they tell you it's 1.6 billion a year, it's in fact divided by 2 for you. Because they're providing a service to 980,000 households.
So you're cross-subsidizing those?
You 100% cross-subsidizing. Now, when we're reading these figures and we say, oh, what a great thing, it dropped from 13% to 11%, 13% to 15%, all of that 2% and 1%. But yet you go in a line item and now you add in administrative charges for areas at 10% per annum. So you're getting that 1% back. And with all due respect, we all know Grey Street and Victoria Street and all of that back in the day. You walk in the shop, at face value, something's marked at 200, and inside the shop it's 180 rand. That's how the city is running. They started out quite clearly knowing that they're not going to get what they asked for. They knew they're going to go to public consultation and speak to ratepayers. Ratepayers are going to complain. They're going to console them and say, there's a lollipop for you. We're going to give you 1% reduction. Well done. That's what it is. It's nothing else.
Now, what you're alluding to, the fact that those that are paying, and they constitute a minority in the country, are cross-subsidizing those that can't afford to pay.
Yes, let me put it to you this way. If you take that 472,000 people out of the city and you move them into a town like Stanger and you tell them to live there, the city will collapse.
So your rate space will be bust, and basically
nothing. You'll have no money.
You'll have a major problem.
Correct.
Now the city is aware that people are struggling to pay, and a lot of poor people living in these areas happen to buy a property, are paying rates.
Yes.
because the rates rebate is a minimal amount.
There are a few items within the rates policy that speaks to those things. Like, for example, if you're a pensioner and your property is now 2.5 million, you can apply for a rates rebate, right? In terms of rates of a property,
But you won't get 100% rebate.
50%.
Yes.
Right? Sorry, if you're a pensioner, it's 75%, right? Then there are other certain things that are in the budget that are good, and it speaks to old SLAs that we've always had that have never been implemented. Like, for example, it used to state any household under 250,000, it's now 350,000 that can apply for or will automatically fall within the indigent policy. However, if you're from 350,000 to 750,000 rand and your total household income is under 7,000 rand a month, you can apply to have rates and water and all of that at 6 kiloliters free and all of those things. So there are some good items within the budget. But holistically, and in solidarity with those 472,000 people, we tomorrow are abstaining from the budget. Very simply because even if we do vote against it or vote for it, it makes no difference. We're in a government of national unity. Provincially, it's the IFP and the ANC that stand together. And if you look at the numbers within council out of 222, and if you take the ANC and just the IFP in a full house, along with the NFP and the other cohorts that they have, the numbers are enough to pass this budget anyway. The roadshow was there because it is an instruction. It must happen. They could have passed any budget. They could have passed an increase of 20% and you would have had no say.
Correct.
That's the reality, because the political dynamic in cities like eThekwini is not in favor of any change. You cannot have this sort of governance and expect service delivery. It's not going to happen.
Now, we mentioned those numbers, Imtiaz, that the operating budget constitutes a significant amount, of the
64.2 billion.
That's right. Now, will that amount be spent on maintenance that is badly required in the city? We know road maintenance is a chaos. Infrastructure maintenance is chaotic. Forget about the capex.
Yeah.
In the past, a lot of it was going towards corruption, maladministration, more than 40% or 50%. Will the mayor's commitment to really using the operating budget effectively take place? Yes or no?
Let me answer you very simply. Firstly, the mayor is the head of the city, doesn't run the city. The city is run by the same people that ran it in 2021 when we came in. In 2021, we came in, we discussed the whole night because we were the first year in council. We said, no, we're going to make a difference and we're going to do all of these things differently, not understanding what we understand today and how the city is run. Then it was 66 billion. Same officials, same people. Every year on year, there's these increases. Same officials, same people. The only difference now is you're telling me there's a new mayor. What brings change to the 24,000 employees that service the city? All the increases are within the budget. It's there. The increases haven't gone away, including councillors. Councillors are going to get an increase because it's in the budget. When have the councillors stood up and said, no, we're not going to get an increase this year because we're not providing service delivery? Those things are not happening. There's incentive bonuses there. It's in the budget also. Why are we getting all of these things when you come up Alpine Road right now? They've just tarred half the road. They've just opened up right there by Imam Bak's Butchery again because of a water leak. Why couldn't that entire line be repaired and replaced before they retard the entire street? Besides that, you probably had 20 or 30 staff on Alpine Road for the past 2 months tarring half the road. What are we doing? Where is the value for money? Who's monitoring them? Where is our wastage? Our wastage is not in plundering and tender fraud and all of these things. Our wastage is in deployment of branches of people within municipalities. When there's 50 jobs within DSW, who's going to get that job? And now you are holden to the unions. You can't really speak to the staff improperly because they come from the branches that now put you into power. So this is a struggle of power. This is a struggle of making sure your staff are happy so that they don't turn on you in the streets. The ANC with the MK and all of that happening at the moment, there's no change coming. Realistically speaking, you're going to be forced to pay this money, even if it was 15%. Realistically speaking, this budget is going to pass. And realistically speaking, your service is going to be exactly the same for the next year.
So basically, this cross-subsidization principle will continue.
Correct.
I just want to comment on DSW
Yes.
and housing. The mayor is saying to ensure seamless provision of waste management services, the municipality has set aside an operating budget of 1.9 billion, which includes 454 million for community-based contractors. That was a disaster.
Yeah.
We know the former mayor, Zandile Gomet, that case is still going on regarding that issue. And then another 85 million for refuse bags. Most of the communities and ratepayers are saying we don't get these refuse bags. We have to buy these refuse bags. The capital budget for this service is 375 million, which will be spent on transport assets and landfill sites, which is a huge problem.
No, Yunus, let me.
Now, I just want to add to housing, and I was in that sector. Mayor Kaba said the city will also be attending to the housing backlog of over 474,000 households, which is growing due to rural-urban migration. When I was around, it was more than 1 million. I don't know how he brought it down to 474,000 because there's virtually no delivery since then. This also includes efforts to address approximately 600 informal settlements with 314,000 households. Virtually nothing has been done. Those informal settlements are the same. All that's happening is that some kind of water and electricity provision or theft of electricity that's taking place. So there are promises being made of the budget, summary being prepared by officials who don't know what they're doing, which is alluding to the fact that you're back to square one. So is this a talk shop or is it a reality?
Yes, let me give you something very simply. Our mayor on Monday's meeting was very proud to say that last year we provided as a city some 70,000 jobs. The year before. And currently we provide 102,000 jobs as a city. For what? Community-based projects, stream cleaning projects, all of these things that are for empowerment of the communities coming from the informal sector, which comes out of your operational expenditure. So basically right now, we give services for free, those 472,000 households, and we create jobs within those informal settlements for them to do street sweeping and cleaning and all of those things. It comes from you and I. And that is where this really is, right? Now, when we're speaking about capital expenditure, people need to understand, a capex is not sponsored by you who has the white paper, right? You sponsoring 75% of the operational budget. The capex comes from national treasury or provincial treasury, wherever it is, and it's given to the city to capitalize and do all of those infrastructure developments. The only unit that has got it right to a certain degree, and when we discuss this within our committee, we understand that electricity, all their money comes from you and I because they provide a service to you and I. Water, exactly the same, right? However, we don't further on charge to non-rate payers those bills. So water is given free, 42% of it given free. Electricity only now is putting in prepaid meters, but it's still, there's no measure, there's no bulk measure of it. The only unit that gets funding from National Treasury to provide its service is CSW, Cleansing and Solid Waste, because they fully understand that they have to provide a service for double the capacity of people that pay. So that's the only one that really gets a grant in terms of saying this is what it is. So I'll give you an understanding of that. In your bill, you're probably paying 270 Rand or 370 Rand a month for DSW charges. In reality, if the unit wasn't getting sponsored by national government, that bill should be 1,100 and something Rand. So that's where the grants come in. Now, if electricity had to apply their mind and do the same thing, which they're currently doing, they've presented to us some infrastructure things and all of that, but the discussion is a very simple thing. When you're giving water away for free, meter it, measure it, and bill it to human settlements, because it's not our cost. National Treasury has told you to give these services, they must pay for it. But because we don't measure it and we can't bill it, everyone else has to now pay for it. So those are the injustices that we need to speak to.
Imtiaz, a lot of people that listen to the program, and there's a large number of people listening, and they catch me in the supermarkets and they catch me in the malls, and they're saying, what is the way forward? Because we had previous guests coming in and they're saying that the problem lies in the ballot box. Now, if you look at the minority communities, the best case scenario is if they vote for the minorities in the different areas with 110 wards,
correct,
and they get 20 seats, even then they're in the minority. We need to change the thinking of the majority parties. And there's a coalition between the ANC, IFP. MK is a runaway party from the ANC.
Yeah.
And the modus operandi is how we can enrich ourselves. particularly the businessmen, the contractors.
Yeah.
So there's a small minority of people that are benefiting from the huge fiscus of municipality and government.
Correct.
And we no doubt away in the Zondo Commission's report, nothing is being done. A lot is being said and nothing is being done. Is there any chance of an improvement in general service delivery, or are we on a hiding to nothing?
Let's just be clear about this, and without fitting in too many words, to understand what power really is, it's about having the status quo in your favor. So when you're sitting in a city and you don't have enough numbers to be over 50%, you go to someone who has the balance of your power, you negotiate with them, you give them some power in committee, or you give them what they want for their people.
To get something in return.
And then they stand with you. That's what is happening in the city. Now, the problem we have in the city is that, I'm going to take you back to 2011. There was a party called the Minority Front. It had 11 seats in this council. It had enough power to bring change for the people of Chatsworth and Phoenix. I ask you, we speak about 580 informal settlements today, okay? Whose wards are they in? Who has been the councillors for the past 10 years? Which party?
The minority communities.
So ask yourself, why are those people there? And why is there only a certain political party that has grown their numbers since 2011 to now 59 seats in this council, but still portrayed to act on your behalf? That's urbanization. The issue of shacks, let's not beat around the bush. Let's speak the truth about it. There are houses being built in Konubia. Those shacks are not going to go away because that's rental stock. Those shacks that are there are being rented out by people that own the shacks for new people that come into the city. When you come into the city, you go to a shack, you stay there for 800 Rand a month. As soon as you find a nice little job,
rentals.
Correct. Once you find a nice little job, you and two of your buddies get a flat in a different area and you'll go live somewhere else. So therefore, the shacks are going nowhere. That's the truth. Whether it's something for you to you can't swallow it, or you don't like what I'm saying, make me the villain about this.
It's an unwritten
Say that I'm a councillor and I'm doing nothing about it.
It's an unwritten strategy by the ruling party.
It is what it is. Not only by the ruling party. It's not by the ruling party.
By other parties as well.
What you need to understand is that is a voting block on its own within 23 informal settlements in Ward 27. 23.
So the councillor comes from that particular informal settlement?
No. It's a DA-run ward.
It's a DA-run ward. Correct.
Now, if you've got 23 informal settlements and you're telling me that those 23 informal settlements are ANC stalwarts, how did you get a DA councillor if they all voted for the ANC? It's not possible. I've just given you the numbers and I've told you that 500,000 households don't pay, meaning indigent, 580 informal settlements, and 472,000 households pay. Okay? So do the math. I'm not here to politicize anything, but figure out what's happening in your home, around you, in your ward, and figure out what's in your best interest to do. The reality of the political climate is not for you. The other thing I'll give you is that in 2021, we come in as councillors, right? You're supposed to stay there for 5 years, come up with ward development, speak to your community, start fixing things, and portray what the community wants in council. That does not happen. It does not happen. Because come 2024, which was last year's election, how many councillors relinquished their position? Amshlanga rocks here, there, to go to legislature and to go to national parliament. So where's the trajectory? Same thing happened here in the last election. Chris Pappas was here. He then went to legislator. He leaves us with someone else for the balance of 2 years. So basically in certain wards, we've got councillors for 2 years and then the new councillor comes in and then there's a by-election. Ward 34, there's a by-election, now there's an independent. You cannot expect an independent to come into council for the first year or the latter part of his term, which is only 1 year, and to bring change. Not going to happen.
If just for the benefit of our communities, many of them don't know how the budget works. They're just hearing about these figures, which Hassan is talking about. And in the end of the day, the allocation of those budgets is crucial. Now, if you got 110 wards, the allocation is not done equally.
No.
And Ish just spoke about the lack of priority, because you may have 20 of the 100 wards that require urgent work, and it could be in the minority areas. but the budget is emphasized towards the power that's a particular party is holding in a particular ward. So maybe for the benefit of our listeners, briefly, in a couple of minutes, from your understanding,
Yes.
I know how it works, and I don't want to say it. How does the CFO prioritize his budgets and the allocation thereof?
So very simply put, and when things are on paper, you can't see what you're exactly talking about, right? Remember, there are councillors and there are councillors. Some councillors are more influential than other councillors depending on party politics. That's what it is. Okay. Now remember, we're coming into an election, probably going to be, it's supposed to be next year, it's probably going to move to 2027 February. Based on that election and based how contentious this is going to be, there's going to be service delivery by particular parties in certain areas where their strongholds are, to maintain those strongholds. And that is what is going to happen. Now, when you're looking at a budget, these budget allocations, so if I'm saying 64.2 billion is going towards operational expenditure, remember, electricity unit will get a certain percentage of it. Water will get a certain percentage. All of them will get a certain percentage. Now, we went within committee. Remember, I sit in trading services. People need to understand the committees as well. So it's community services, all these committees. Trading services committee takes care of CSW, electricity, and water. The main three, 75% of all budgets come through that committee, right? They had to present to us what it is they're going to spend the capital expenditure on, and they needed to present to us what they're going to spend the operational expenditure from. Now, the OPEX expenditure of 64.2 billion, half of it goes to 24,000 employees. It's salaries, including mine.
Councillor salaries.
Your councillor is part of municipality.
So what does that constitute of the budget? What percentage?
So basically, something like 30% of that budget of 64.2.
So we got a bloated bureaucracy.
Correct. So it goes to salaries. Now, the question arises, and you know, there's something that we need to consider here. How is it that you see most municipality staff working on Sundays?
Because they get double paid.
Fixing street lights and doing all of that. But in the week, you hardly seeing them anyway. Now, these are the realities that are there. There's unions, there's all of these things that are eating at us, and we can't speak to it because
so
we have...
30% is going on a bloated bureaucracy.
Yes.
And then the balance of 30%.
And Hassan spoke about political will. Political power is required to bring that change. You don't have to be a majority. You just have to make up the balance of the equation. If you need 100 bricks to build a house and you only have 95, the cost of that 5 bricks can be as expensive as the 95. And that's where change comes in. Minorities can make a difference if they stand together and they understand the dynamic of politics and how to bring change within councils.